Our political class does not govern. It entertains. It plays its assigned role in our fictitious democracy, howling with outrage to constituents and selling them out. The Squad and the Progressive Caucus have no more intention of fighting for universal health care, workers' rights, or defying the war machine than the Freedom Caucus fights for freedom. These political hacks are modern versions of Sinclair Lewis's slick con artist Elmer Gantry, cynically betraying a gullible public to amass personal power and wealth. This moral vacuity provides the spectacle, as H.G. Wells wrote, of a great material civilization halted, paralyzed. It happened in ancient Rome. It happened in our Germany. It is happening here. Governance exists, but it is not seen. It is certainly not democratic. It is done by the armies of lobbyists and corporate executives from the fossil fuel industry, the arms industry, the pharmaceutical industry, and Wall Street. Governance happens in secret. Corporations have seized the levers of power. Growing obscenely rich, the ruling oligarchs have deformed national institutions, including state and federal legislatures and the courts, to serve their insatiable greed. They know what they are doing. They understand the depths of their own corruption. They know they are hated. They are prepared for that too. They have militarized police forces and have built a vast archipelago of prisons to keep the unemployed and underemployed in bondage. All the while, they pay little or no income tax and exploit sweatshop labor overseas. They lavishly bankroll the political clowns who speak in the vulgar and crude idiom of an enraged public or in the dulcet tones used to mollify the liberal class. And when they see one of their political puppets faltering, as Joe Biden was, they step in, cut off the funds, and stage a party coup. The media plays its anointed role in this farce as courtiers to the powerful, amplifying their fictitious narratives and lies. There are only a handful who call them out.
And there's more to that video, but I just wanted to start with that very good synopsis of the state of affairs that we're all living in, which is the fascist future is already here. What's going on, people? How you doing? Welcome to Black Bear News. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where all the viewers are above average, smarter than the average bear. I almost went Prairie Home Companion there. In fact, I did go Prairie Home Companion. If you guys remember, that show was a great show. But thanks for being here. Good to see you. That's where we're at. And as things unravel, as the climate unravels, as the political reality unravels, as the economic situation unravels, we're going to see more control from the people in power, or the attempts at controlling how things are going to go. Will they succeed? That's the question. And then it's ultimately up to whether people want to acknowledge and take action, so that's kind of where we're at. But there's always unintended consequences. There's always blowback, as it's called, for the people in charge. Right? The more you try to control something, many times the more it becomes uncontrollable. The more the unintended consequences come back to bite you, the more we see that playing out. That plays out through history over and over again. Yeah, Gene, I think that's a good way to look at it. Ignore the stupid presidential race. It's all a farce. The deep state is in control. The election is to trick you into thinking there's a bit of democracy. Sure. From Colin McCarthy, Earth just experienced its hottest summer in recorded history, beating the previous record set last summer. Unprecedented warmth with clear links to climate change. I mean, this is not, for the doubters, it's cool. It's cool to doubt. But this is also, it's cool to doubt, but this is kind of a long-term trend line here. So you can't really chalk this up to just manipulation, HARP or whatever else. I mean, consider, if you will, the manipulation of an entire species of animal on the planet, extracting and resources hand over fist, creating things out of these resources, putting them out into the environment, burning these resources, pushing all the waste product from this resource extraction and burning into the atmosphere, into the plant, into the wild, into the ecosystem. Consider that has an effect. That is, I know there's this effort to make it seem like you're not at fault. They're trying to say it's our fault. No, I mean, it's our fault collectively. Unwittingly, by participating in the system which is broken, the system which is broken, the system which is predatory, the system which is sloppy, right? In its pursuit of wealth and the finer things, and technology and technological prowess and know-how and control and right, in the pursuit of all of that, it's very the system is very sloppy. It's extremely sloppy, and the fallout from that sloppiness and from that lack of care in taking a long-term look at what it is that all of these inventions and all of our, doing all of our grand schemes and doings, and the fallout from that is literally what climate change is. So it's not, it's not your fault, but you're in the system. You're here. A lot of the damage has already been done. Do you decide to participate in doing more damage? Do you decide to participate in being ignorant of the effects of all of what we're doing to the planet? Or do you choose to be aware and alive and wake up and do, and at least do right action, even if the right action isn't gonna make a lick of difference in the outcome? But this is a long timeline. This is, look where the temperatures start to deviate into going hotter and hotter and hotter. It's, 1950 through 1970. 1970, it really starts to kind of push up. And look at this, the spike at the very end of this timeline is where we are now. And that is, this is an obvious trend line. This is obviously what's going on. And you can confirm, this is not something that somebody is telling you on the internet. You can confirm it by seeing the actual results of this rise in temperature play out around you. The rise in temperature is a clear suspect in all of the extreme, all the calamities that are going on. A lot, not all, but a lot of the calamities, weather-wise and environmentally, that are going on around the planet. And, believe it or don't. There's a bit of an Arctic pulse happening over Europe. I think it might actually be, some of this might be influencing our weather this week, which is, again, if you're growing food, it's an interesting time to grow food. Shock to the system. Unusually strong cold is pouring south out of the Arctic into Europe right now. This is an ideal setup for deep, fresh snow accumulation in the Alps and flooding in Central Europe. It's about as cold as it gets this early in September. So they're getting just this massive cold snap. Again, if you're growing food, this is not ideal. Especially here where we have, we've had unseasonably hot weather for, several days, stretching into maybe a week or two of very, very hot weather. Difficult to keep the plants alive. And then it's going to actually get down into the 60s in a day or two. So it's not going to be too bad, but if it lasted long enough and got cold enough, if you're trying to grow something, your plants, whatever you're growing, is going to be very confused. Here's another look. Extreme temperatures around the world. Snow is falling locally below 700 meters in northeast Italy. Historic event not remembered in memory. This time of year, let's expect even full monthly record lows to fall. In the meanwhile, temperatures will rise again above 27°C in the Arctic Circle in Russia and break records. So we have a bit of like a polar vortex thing going on, where you have this disruption of the jet stream large enough to cause like a deep cold snap and then deep, even unseasonably warm temperatures in the Arctic. I see all these really good links you're putting here, Denver, on Rockfin. Rockfinners, I see you. What's up? Got old as dirt. Denver dropping a whole bunch of knowledge in the chats. Thank you, Denver. What is this? And this is kind of in the same vein. Antarctic research finds exceptional warm air intrusions and omnipresent aerosol layers in the stratosphere. Whoa. Let's jump to this real quick. Antarctic research finds exceptional warm air intrusions and omnipresent aerosol layers in the stratosphere. From today. Oh, happy Friday the 13th, by the way. No, I didn't just realize it was Friday the 13th. I realized that earlier. I just forgot to say something. Say something. See something. Say something. No, I don't need that. Extremely clean air on the ground, warm air intrusions, and sulfate aerosol at high altitudes. A Leipzig research project has gained new insights into clouds in Antarctica. From January to December 2023, the vertical distribution of aerosol particles and clouds in the atmosphere above the German Neumayer Station 3 was investigated from the ground for the first time. The height resolved measurements were the first of their kind in Queen Maud Land, the area of the Antarctic that borders the Atlantic and covers an area larger than Greenland. The observations were performed with the Oceanet atmosphere platform from the Leibniz Institute for Tropospheric Research. These are satellites, right? Or no? Demonstrated its robustness already while it was drifting in the Arctic for a whole year on the RV Polarstern during the International Mosaic Expedition 2019-2020. Anyways, let's try and get to the meat. The Antarctic continent and the Southern Ocean are important components of the global climate system. While Antarctica's climate was considered relatively stable in the last century, significant changes are now being observed. Climate projections indicate that the interior of the Antarctic will warm by more than 3 Kelvin. A sea ice extent will decrease by around 30%, and precipitation will increase in the 21st century. However, such projections are subject to major uncertainties, and the global atmospheric circulation models are not yet able to correctly reproduce the cloud cover and radiative forcing over the Southern Ocean. The incorrect representation of clouds leads to distorted estimates of thermal radiation and sea surface temperature, which are a prerequisite for estimating the energy fluxes between the ocean and atmosphere. In addition, in order to be able to document any change in an environment, such as Antarctica, its current state needs to be documented as well as possible. Anyways, this is pretty long. The LiDAR measurements provided an insight into how many particles are floating above this part of Antarctica and at which altitudes. The lower part of the atmosphere with pristine conditions was mostly comparatively clean. Large number of particles between the altitude of around 9 kilometers and 17 kilometers. The stratosphere. The fact that volcanic dust can persist for a very long time over the South Polar region surprised us, just as much as the forest fire smoke over the North Polar region, which we were able to observe for the first time during the Mosaic expedition in 2020. Aerosol in the stratosphere has an influence on the occurrence of polar stratospheric clouds, where complex chemical processes take place and which are suspected to contribute to the hole in the ozone layer of the polar regions. Wow. Our measurements confirm that practically all particles serve as cloud nuclei to either form cloud droplets or ice crystals. If there were more particles, for example, because more polluted air flows into the Antarctic, then there would also be more droplets and ice crystals in the clouds, which would change their lifespan and lead to yet unknown effects on weather and climate. Also, unusually warm air intrusions, warm air from lower latitudes, could intensify climate change in Antarctica. Okay. I cannot read all. This is a fairly in-depth article. But obviously, things are changing. Oh, they were conducted from the ground? Okay. No aerosol was detectable in the standard products of NASA's Calliope satellite lidar. Okay, I see. That's why I was wondering if they were satellites or not, or if those are satellite measurements. The fact that aerosols were detected at the surface and not from space is very interesting. That's interesting. I don't know. Why would NASA not be able to detect these aerosols? I don't know. Tor says, why is eating meat so good for your health? Channel America Unplugged told viewers they can't get enough or can't have enough. I know there's a whole thing between it's very interesting. Well, I don't know, I'm kind of the mind. I'm not a hard, there's this hard line vegan thing where animal products are killing the planet, and the way animals are raised is destroying the planet, and so if we all went vegan we would save the planet. There's that line of thinking, and then so as a response to that, there's a hard line anti, eat meat, I think it's based around the idea that meat is a necessary protein, and that it gives humans, vitality and, like necessary nutrients. I don't know. I'm kind of like up in the air on the whole thing, honestly. I am vegetarian myself, and I don't think I'll ever eat meat again. I don't miss meat. I stopped eating meat for health reasons. But there's so much around it. There's so many variables around it. For one, everybody's body type is different. Some people do better with different diets than, and maybe, obviously genetic. There are people from certain areas of the planet that just do better on a vegetarian diet, or might be genetically predisposed to do better on a vegetarian diet. I don't know. It's so complicated, the subject. Here's what here's what I know is that the way that animals are raised oftentimes is not healthy. Um, the way that animals are raised is not healthy. So, and it's not good for you, the consumer, and it's not good for the planet. And I just showed the chart the other day that uh, mammals are mostly humans and the animals that feed them, and that there are more mammals that feed humans on the planet in number than there are humans. And that to me would say that something is out of balance, right? The wild animals account for 4% of biomass. We're at like 30 something, and the animals that feed us are at 60 something. So that would indicate to me that something is out of balance. So whether animals, it's not that I think that eating animals is bad or raising animals for food is a bad thing. I just think that we're at a point now where we're far out of balance with the ecosystem, right? If we outnumber wild animals, to such a huge degree, I can't think that that is healthy for the planet. It's an interesting thing too, like in LA, there was a strong vegan movement. There still is a strong vegan movement. Denver says I love cheeseburgers. I used to love cheeseburgers, and I used to eat many of them. I just don't. I I stopped eating meat so I could change the way I ate in my diet. I thought, and it worked. I thought if I stopped eating meat, it would kind of force me into better choices, and it kind of worked. Mostly worked. There was a time when I was a junk food vegetarian. I'm not a total. I eat cheese and eggs and stuff. So I'm not a total vegan. And I have tried to be vegan several times in my life. I just didn't feel very good when I was completely vegan. So I found a good balancing space, which is that I eat animal products, but I don't eat animals themselves. And I do eat fish occasionally. So I'm not, but I don't eat a lot of fish because fish come again, the environment in which fish live or are grown, farm raised fish doesn't seem to, be a great healthy option. And wild fish, and there are fewer numbers of them every day, are full of, microplastics and, you know, the toxic chemicals that they meet in the wild too. So, mercury, yes. So, um, so that's where I'm at with my diet. But there are studies that say that uh, in like cattle grazing and raising animals in the correct way can actually benefit the planet. It's just there's so many moving parts to it. It's very complicated. So I personally can't come down on the side of like, well, if you're not vegan, then you're killing the planet. I've had people come at me like that. If you're not 100% vegan, then what? You shut up. You have nothing to say about. I'm like, okay, that's just extreme views like that aren't helpful. I think though, I think that eating a super, heavy meat diet is not good for you. It's hard to digest all that meat. Um, can be very fatty. I think that, eating, coming down on the side of more vegetables and fruit and vegetables and things like that is better for you. A lot of people have problems with bread. A lot of people have problems with, gluten or pasta or, a lot of people think that bread is the most evil thing you can eat. I don't know. I love bread. I eat a lot of bread. I make my own bread. I love bread. I eat bread. you know, I, I don't know. I don't know where, I can't really I can't be a moral authority to anybody on like what they should eat. Going again, just, zooming way out and looking at the macro of it. I think that the animal ag industry is really, just crappy. And, unless you know where you're getting your meat from, you're probably getting crappy meat, raised in crappy conditions. And that's probably not something you want to eat. That's why I don't eat a lot of fish. Fish. I like fish. I don't eat a lot of it because every time I eat it, it's really hard for me not to think about where it came from. Where again, you can try and source your, you can go try and source your fish from certain places, but and the fish industry is destroying the planet just as quickly as the animal ag industry is destroying the planet. They're all just an extension of human beings just doing too much. So I don't know, you could make your health, go do whatever feels good for your body is all I can say. If being vegan feels good to you and is a good healthy choice for you, be vegan. Be a raw vegan. If eating meat is a healthy choice for you, then eat meat. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I know what works for me is that I like being vegetarian. I don't, I don't think I'll ever go back to eating meat unless I was in a position where I had to. But I don't have to. I don't have to. And I try to keep it balanced. And I try to just be balanced, about it. And honestly, what I do in my life, I think that is more significant than not eating meat, is that I try to make I hardly ever eat out, and I hardly ever buy stuff from the store that's like hyper processed. I make everything that I eat, as in prepare and also make the base. I try to make everything that I eat, right? I make my own bread. I make, when I make beans, I don't buy a can of beans and open them up. Like I cook my own beans and but I do eat other canned foods, but they're not highly processed, right? They're just canned. So whatever I eat, I try to make it as unprocessed as possible. That's what I do for my life. I make things with oats, and I make things with, masa. I eat a lot of masa, right? I make my own tortillas. I make my own pupusas. I just try to make everything just be as simple, the ingredients as simple as possible. That's what I do. Yeah. And you can't get away from, even in the flour or the masa, it's like, you have to try to stay away from the GMO, the ingredients in there. It's very difficult. But as long as you're not, I feel like the more things that are processed, highly processed, and come in a box inside of in a plastic bag inside of a box, like just, as much as possible, stay away from that stuff. But, there are exceptions, right? Like I have a thing of ice cream in my freezer. So, and it's full of stuff. I don't know, but it tastes good. I'm going to eat some ice cream later tonight. But, most everything I make everything, I just haven't gotten to make my own ice cream yet. That's all. Tor? Okay, yeah. Yeah, but there's this whole thing about, I think it's a backlash to veganism. there's a backlash to veganism, and what that entails is like people eating. I gotta have some meat, you know. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe try just stay away from the extremism part of it. Like, you know, and I tell this story all the time. I had a friend who was a Buddhist, like doctor, would give people health advice. Was very, very aware of what he was eating. He was vegan. You know, most every day of his life he was vegan. But he told me, when I live in the city, it's very taxing on your adrenal glands, and it can be, you know, people feel a certain amount of stress living in a city. So he said, when I'm living in a large city, every once in a while I go out and eat a steak, because it recharges. There is a property to eating meat that, you know, there are things you can get from eating meat that you can't get from anywhere else. So my vegan Buddhist doctor friend ate a steak every once in a while. So there you go. By the way, I did hear back from Rockfin. Apparently we're supposed to be getting our tips soon. So that's good news. I like Rockfin, and I don't want to have a reason to be upset with being on Rockfin, but I did hear back, and so I appreciate Rockfin for getting back to me about the tips. But I still haven't seen them yet, so we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I personally, I'm just like, you know, don't go all meat. I meat all the time. Don't go all meat. Don't go all veg. You know, maybe do a little of both. Maybe mix and match. See what works for you. See what makes you feel good. You know, to pay attention when I'm eating something. You know, when I eat a particular thing, and you know, how does it make me feel? Like, I feel good when I eat a salad. I feel freaking great. When I start my day with a piece of fruit, I feel freaking great. I try to do that. And then I eat heavier stuff as the day goes on, which is also, some people would say, don't do that. Flip it around. Eat the heavier stuff in the morning and eat the light stuff at night. That's another theory that people have about health. I don't know. Do what makes you feel good. I haven't seen, Andre, I don't know where Andre went. Hopefully Andre's okay. In spite of climate goals, U.S. oil and gas production is projected to set records in 2023 and continue to grow. And that's true. And that's by their own mouths. Steve Austin says these projections to 2050, if proved to be true, would mean the end of civilization. Well, yeah. Well, and you're gonna have to pump all that gas and oil in order to build a renewable energy, renew the whole grid in a renewable way, right? Reshape, build all the electric. Every car's got to be electric now. Everybody's got to buy a new car. That will kill the planet too. So what's the answer? How about the answer is none of the above? How about stop doing all the stuff? How about humans, take a break. Take a break. Just take a break. All right, we're going to watch some videos. Oh, by the way, if you like the show, if you support the show, if you like the show being free to view Monday through Friday, and you're thinking like, hey, I like this show and I want the show to keep going, a really good thing to do would be to support the show financially. The show really, only can continue to exist because It is supported financially by you. It's not supported in any other way. So if you want to support the show, there's lots of direct donation links in the description box of all the platforms I'm on. You can also do Patreon. Rockfin tips, YouTube tips, all this kind of stuff. Although the Rockfin tips and the YouTube tips, they take a little longer to get to me, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, what's this? Right on. Thanks, Tor. Yeah, so direct donation links are really super appreciated because they kind of get to me quicker and with less fees and all that kind of good stuff. Anyways, there's ways to do it. You know the ways to do it. Coffees, etc. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App. And many of you already support the show. And you know who you are, and I really appreciate you for doing that. All right. Sabby Sabs. Whether you vote Team Red or Team Blue, militarized fascism wins. It's Democrats that are running cop cities. That's true. Democrats that hired all the new IRS agents to crack down on you. Democrats that arrested the Uhuru 3 in St. Louis for, spreading that good old Russian misinformation. That's Democrats who were leaning on the social media companies to censor you. So, sounds like the Dems are pretty fascist if you're paying attention. Let's listen to this is Jill Stein and Butch Ware, who are the Green Party candidates. Just a quick one from Butch Ware.
Team Red might be speeding us towards a kind of societal collapse, right? And fascism.
Fascism.
Exactly. But, right. No. But the thing is that the truth of the matter is that imperialism and fascism are two sides of the same coin. One is the side that faces outwards, and the other is the side that faces inward. And I made a social media post before I got brought onto the team that said it this way: is that whether you vote Team Red or Team Blue, militarized fascism wins. Because the AIPAC and the weapons manufacturers are patrons of both networks. And just to return to that point, right? I've been on campuses. I organized a Palestinian Liberation Concert on October 21st. I organized a Black and Palestinian Solidarity panel at my local mosque on October 11th, 4 days after. Wow. Like, your brother was not backing down. And the Zionists came for my job within the month, okay? And, a Negro is still standing. So, but the point of all that is just to say that when we launched this campaign to try to actually bring people into this conversation, you see that this is actually where the American people stand. The American people do not want this forever war, and they do not want militarized fascists coming to their campuses to crack kids' heads open. I had to stand out in front of the encampment, and that's Democratic governor in California. That's Democrat, mayors in places like New York City. It's Democrats that are running cop cities. So the thing is, bro, fascism is already here. It's just that one of it is like fascism, and the other is fascism. But the truth is that the purple fascists, the purple imperialists, Team Red and Team Blue, are run by the same funders, and who funds you runs you. So there's a discourse about putting off fascism, but the reality is that fascism was already here because we already can't speak freely. We already have people, university presidents, losing their job under democratic regimes. We already have kids that are lining up for peaceful protests, having their heads knocked open, or you have the cops standing to the side at UCLA so the thugs can knock kids' heads open. So I'm sorry, the fear mongering ain't gonna work on me.
And this is a kind of funny video about the lesser of two evils. And this is put out by the Green Party. And it's the difference between drinking a smoothie And drinking nail polish remover. Here we go.
Random people are confused about Decision 2024. Gasoline or nail polish remover? Which drink should represent America? What the Neither. Why would I drink those? Oh, good lord, you're one of those. You have to choose one of those two, or you'll never be able to choose again. Choose which poison I drink? If you choose nail polish remover, you don't have to drink that much of it. But a ton of people will have to drink a lot of it, and it causes extreme suffering and death. You are so selfish. Must be nice being so privileged. I need to see the list of options. A smoothie is on here. That's not an option for everyone. It's an option for most people. The electoral beverage prevents a smoothie from ever winning. Oh, it doesn't? Who told you that? Okay, fine, it doesn't. But no one will vote for a smoothie because they don't know it's an option. So help me tell everyone. Just get off your moral high horse and vote for drinking nail polish remover. You would rather drink nail polish remover than a smoothie. Actually, yes. I really like the color and shape of the bottle it comes in. You know, whichever liquid wins, you'll have to use it to fight those fires you care so much about. Did you know gasoline is flammable? So is nail polish remover literally won't shut up about how flammable it is. Well, you're throwing your vote away and ruining our country. No, I'm not, because I'm voting for a smoothie. A smoothie. A smoothie. And if everyone would just learn the benefits of a smoothie and help me tell everyone, maybe we wouldn't all have to drink lethal poison. Wow, I finally get what you're saying. You want everyone to drink gasoline! Ah, now that's refreshing.
All right, that's funny. That was funny. Some people might not agree that the Green Party is a smoothie. I don't, but it's not. Whether or not you think it's a smoothie, it's definitely not gasoline or nail polish remover, which are kind of the choices that people are trying to tell you. Well, I'm definitely not going to vote for gasoline. No way. You'll never catch me voting for gasoline. Okay. Strong stance there. Right? So Trump is the nail polish remover. I mean, either way. I'm definitely not voting for nail polish remover. Okay. All right. Strong political convictions there. Okay. It's basically it, Denver. Yeah. Yeah. It's a cult position. It's a cult position that forces people to drink things that might take them out. Literally, that's what cults do. That's literally what cults do, is drink things that are poisonous or vote for things that are poisonous. Because they can't see any other option. Anyways. Okay, well, that's good, George. So you're trying to tell us that you're going to vote for nail polish remover? Is that what you're saying? I don't understand your statement. I mean, I do understand your statement. But that's the thing, is that people think, well, if you're not going to vote for nail, what did she say at the end there? So what you're saying is you really want people to drink gasoline. I mean, I got that you're not voting for Trump, George. That's great. I'm not voting for Trump either. I support that position. I mean, a lot of people think that as far as rhetoric goes, there are a lot of people that are pointing out that Trump is at least saying things that people might support. I don't know what, about the only thing that Harris has said that appeals to a lefty or a populist mindset is like, well, we care about climate change. Okay, it's fair. And then they're saying, well, we're definitely want a ceasefire, okay? But you pretty much sent Israel, billions of dollars in weapons for the last, almost a year with no. Laura Loomer is pretty far out there. You definitely sent, people. You've funded the genocide, so you're telling us that you're going to fix the genocide when you funded the genocide. You tell us that you're going to fix the climate change when you've funded the climate change. So what are they giving people? I mean, Harris literally said on stage, like, no, I support fracking and I support war and I support cops. So it's like, she literally said, we're going to out Republican the Republicans, vote for us. That's what she said on stage at the debate. We watched it together. This is literally what she said. I didn't hear any like super lefty policies out of her. She didn't say we were going to give people health care. She didn't say we were going to, if I missed something, please educate me. Please. Yeah. The Dems are further right than the Republicans. Right. And so the Trump campaign has come out and said, much more progressive populist type things to be. Now you have to believe that they're not playing politicians, and just promising you things in order to vote for them, which I don't believe that they're not playing politician and promising things that they're not going to deliver. So that's why I'm not voting for them. That's just where I'm at. But they're saying things that are much more appealing to people at large than the Democrats are. So it's a wonder, what are the Democrats running on other than, I'm not Trump, which is, sure, to a lot of people, that's a very strong position. Granted, to a lot of people, I'm not Trump is an incredibly strong position. Sure. But I don't see what they're offering to people. They're not really offering anybody anything. At least the Trump campaign is trying to offer things to people. Like Trump just came out and said they're not going to tax overtime pay. That's pretty progressive. He was the one that started the we're not going to tax tips. And then the Harris campaign was like, oh, we should say that too. But that's pretty progressive. We're going to, evaluate, all of government agencies and see, what's going on there. Like where are they mismanaged and stuff like that. I don't know. We're going to, seek to end the Ukraine war. That's pretty progressive. That's much more lefty than Harris campaign is like Putin bad and Russia bad, and we're going to, keep supporting Ukraine. They're on the right. They're warmongers compared to Trump. So what Trump is saying, again, you have to believe that he actually cares about what he's saying and that he's actually going to fulfill his promises in order to go down that road of voting for him. I'm not there. Here is somebody, Scaramucci, Anthony Scaramucci, who's a Republican, is, this is a great exchange. Scaramucci is a Republican who's supporting Kamala, and here's Michael Tracy basically making this guy look like a dork. This guy is a dork. This guy is a dork. That's a good point, George. The tariffs will start a trade war and are paid for by consumers. There's a lot on the Trump policy platform that I'm like, no way, I don't want any parts of that. I mean, half or more of it, 3/4 of it, I'm like, boo, I don't, I'm not voting for that, boo. But there's a couple of things where I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool, Whereas there's nothing that Harris is saying that I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like there's nothing that she's saying that I'm like, okay, I can support that. Nothing. There's nothing she's saying. This is funny.
Anthony Scaramucci, with all due respect, weren't you the press secretary in the Trump administration for like 12 days or something? 11. Sorry, exactly. Comms director, excuse me.
I was on the campaign for 9 months. I raised probably $30 million, gave him $1 million personally. I was on the executive committee for the transition team. So I worked on the campaign for almost a year.
But why does that pedigree? My question is, why does that pedigree make you such a valued surrogate for the Kamala Harris campaign? Like, with all due respect, like, why do people care?
You should ask them. Well, you're standing here talking to me, so, yeah,
I'm indicting myself, I guess.
You might be indicting yourself, but I don't know why they care. But let me tell you something. I'm helping her. It's resonating. It's been effective with independents. We're building a very, very broad coalition. Mr. Trump represents something to me that's very anti-American. It doesn't stand for the traditional values of the Republican Party that I grew up in.
Like which values?
Well, you want to name one, okay? Ronald Reagan was pro-immigration. His last speech that he gave was a pro-immigration speech. Mr. Trump is anti-immigration, not just illegal immigration, but immigration overall.
He granted protective status to Venezuelan immigrants, so it's selective.
Read the
so that's not a point. His point is dumb.
And read the 902-page agenda. Read Agenda 47. Read Project 2025. Go through the stuff that he's talking about. He's a divisive guy.
The 2025 thing is like it's not a conspiracy theory, but it's the biggest talking point that the Democrats have. It's like, 2025 is going to rip our country to shreds, and Trump has tried to distance himself from that as,
he blows racist dog whistles every single day of his life. He splits things. I work for him. I know the MO. He'll say one thing that's very racist and very dog whistly, and then I'll say a second thing to countermand it so that there'll be enough meat out there for people like the talking heads of Fox News to say, he didn't really mean.
Did you get a chance to say hello to Donald Trump? He was just in the room.
I didn't see him, no. But I'm happy to say hello to him. I have nothing personal against him. I just don't want him to be the president of the United States.
So Kamala Harris tonight touted the endorsement of Dick Cheney. Is he one of these traditional Republicans who people are looking back on retrospectively?
I have nothing personal against him. I just don't want him to be president. That's funny.
And valorizing?
I think it's a very important endorsement for Vice President Harris because this guy's calling her things like Marxist and communist and comrade. And a guy like Dick Cheney is not endorsing her if any of those things were true. And so what we know about Mr. Trump, he's a lie machine. He told 30,450 lies.
So why is Dick Cheney endorsing her? Do they have compatible worldviews?
Well, incompatible enough. Remember, Dick Cheney, like myself, is a first principles person. So what are you looking for?
What's the principle? Invading Iraq?
No, you should let me talk. You're like a right, what are you, like a right-wing journalist, right?
He called him
hard right, right? I got that. It's all fine.
For pointing out that Dick Cheney lied us into a war, invaded Iraq, right? Like, did basically the most right-wing, warmongering, imperialist, stuff possible. Somehow pointing that out makes him a right-winger. Like, Scaramucci is just a craven idiot.
Well, let me talk. First principles about the Constitution. First principles is about freedom. First principles about
freedom for who?
Where we are, what our identity is, not only to ourselves as Americans, but what our identity represents to the world. Those are first principles. Mr. Trump's a very destructive guy. He's very denigrating to the country. He goes to these rallies and he denigrates our country. Okay, that's the country of my parents and my grandparents. I don't like it very much, and I want him to stop.
He's pointing at denigrating, meaning he's pointing out that there are problems in the country. That if you're not like, everything's great and we're the best and we're doing the right thing all the time, like, he's somehow that he's very damaging to the country to point out that maybe things aren't going in the right direction. Is that what he's trying to say? And that, That sounds like when I showed the clip the other day, or the list of things that would get you on a terrorist watch list, right? Things that would prove you're, criticizing the economy, criticizing the state of the country. Is that why Scaramucci is saying this?
Dobbs want to defeat him.
Do you find it bizarre that skepticism of Dick Cheney is coded as right wing in 2024? Like, I guess I'm old enough to remember the early 2000s where that would have been a punchline to a joke.
I think the world has changed over the last 25 years. I think that this guy represents a systemic danger to our system. He's got people on his team, and he himself has said this. They want to take the FBI out of the Department of Justice and link it directly, have it report directly to the president. He wants to fire 50,000 employees in the government and then rehire people to take a loyalty test to him. These are things that the average American looks at and say, I don't want that. Okay, and so for me, I don't want my country turning into an autocracy where 5.7 billion other people are living in an autocracy. And Mr. Trump represents that. Mr. Trump denied the election results last time. His worst moments tonight when he was trying to substantiate the great election lie that his friends at Fox News lost $783 million on. So, it's a disaster. You got a guy who has 40 people that work for him, including his vice president, that have told you under no circumstances can we work for, endorse, or vote for him. 40 people. Let me ask this to you rhetorically. Let's say we all worked at a pharmaceutical company and a pill was being made, and we saw the pill being made in the factory, said, hey, that pill's going to kill your kid.
That's a bad example,
you have
dude.
People on his campaign that are telling you how destructive he is and what a threat he is to the Republic and our Constitution.
But if those people include John Bolton, Mark Esper, who was a former top Raytheon lobbyist, others, I mean, if you're a little bit circumspect about the influence of like the military-industrial complex, wouldn't it be a point in his favor that those people have such negative view of him?
I understand you have a tinfoil hat on your head.
What tinfoil hat is what conspiracy theory did I assert?
Because you're asserting something.
Was Mark Esper not a top Raytheon lobbyist? Trump. It was to his discredit that Trump appointed him defense secretary.
Mark Esper served the country. He was a West.
Yeah, as a Raytheon lobbyist.
No, he didn't. He was in the American Army.
He wasn't a Raytheon lobbyist.
I think
he was the top lobbyist at Raytheon when Trump appointed him.
Great job.
Different things in his resume, including working for Raytheon.
I still don't follow what conspiracy theory I asserted.
No, you're implying that the 40 people that work for Donald Trump are in the tank of the deep state and the.
I didn't. You said the term deep state, not me.
Ask one more question. Let's go to something else.
All right. I don't want to talk anymore.
Here's another.
You're making me look stupid.
Here's another. You don't know my MO. You thought I'm a right wing because I expressed skepticism of Dick Cheney. Well, I'm not a Republican.
Right, Gene. That's all. That's all they have. Right wing tinfoil hat. If you say the truth, if you call things as they are. You're a right winger. You're a tinfoil hat. You're a racist. You're a thing. That's all they have is name calling and smearing. This guy is a turd. This guy is just a political piece of poop. Sorry, I just had to say that because it made me laugh. He's a turd. This guy is an absolute turd, and that's all he has is smearing. And Michael Tracy makes him look like the chump that he is. This is great. And this guy's supporting Harris. So what can go wrong?
I've been a registered Democrat. So I mean, final question. And maybe this is too conspiratorial for you, and maybe it shows I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, but did Dick Cheney and George W. Bush uphold the Constitution such that they're now a venerated, favorable contrast with Donald Trump? Explain that to me.
Bang, bang.
Well, I think it's prima facie. I don't even think that needs to be explained.
Did Bush and Cheney upheld the Constitution?
Right.
They certainly did.
Really?
Oh, my God. This guy.
Fascinating.
And they may have made a mistake going to
the Fourth Amendment.
To the UN and created that war. What are you implying? The Patriot Act?
Well, no. There was mass warrantless surveillance that was inaugurated under George W. Bush,
right.
2006.
Well, first of all, you have to go.
They actually
to a judge
committed
to get
war.
the warrants.
They committed war crimes. They committed war crimes. They lied this country into a war that genocided a whole people. they broke the law. I don't know how, and how many ways or times they broke the law, but they are criminals. They should be locked up. They are war criminals. They are criminals. They're treasonous to the United States. They're the worst freaking people ever. One of the worst administrations to ever be in power. And this guy is defending them as if they have a moral high ground. This is wild. This exchange is actually pretty wild. Patriot Act, exactly.
Second of all, read the
kangaroo court, the FISA court.
Here we go with the tinfoil stuff. There's
right?
I could cite you endless constitutional scholars who will talk about the kangaroo court of FISA courts.
Disagree with the stuff, but the law got voted in by the Congress. It's called the Patriot Act. You may not like the law, then get yourself elected and go raise a caucus of people and get out of the law. Vote to renege the law. You may not like the law, but the law got put into place, and there is a process to protect people. I want my family safe. You know what? I work for the American government.
What is he even saying there? He's saying, if you want to do something about it, you do something about it. You get yourself a big group of people together and you get elected and change the law. What? No. This actually makes me absolutely, and I'm seeing a few people in the chats agreeing with me. I despise the Democratic Party right now, and I despise these pieces of trash that are supporting them. These people are wild with the idea that somehow they're more, I just, I'm getting a little bit like riled up, but like, and when I see people, people that I know on, all over social media, like Kamala Harris, it's like I, have to really like exert a lot of self-control to not go at people for being so absolutely just ignorant dorks, but like I don't know. you guys don't know anything about anything, and you're like, you don't know what you're supporting people because they're not Trump, but you're supporting the absolute worst people ever. And I don't know, maybe that's the answer, is to start a party and to, change the laws and to do something about it. I don't know how, I don't know how we get around these kinds of just these creeps that run everything, and it's just like, but this guy Scaramucci is just but Michael Tracy really, really did a great job of handing him his foot, and inserting it into his mouth. And it was just like, here, eat this. Like, you dope.
And I understand the threats that are out there to the people of the United States. And I want my family safe. And I like Bush and Cheney. That's just me.
All right. Well, I guess,
Fellow Democrat.
Yeah, exactly.
I like Bush and Cheney. That's just me. Oh my God. I love war criminals. That's just me. Yay, America. If you're not with us, you're against us. Anyways, whatever. That was just gold, though. Good job by Michael Tracy. Yeah, it was a really great interview, and he really made that guy look like the scum that he is. And man. Anyways, all right. When Colin Powell died, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, he was a great American hero. No, he was a war criminal. He was not a hero. He was a war criminal. What? I'm telling you. I'm seeing people like all over social media just like slobbering all over Kamala Harris, like to the degree that I'm just like, do you guys even know what's going on? You're just like, yay team, my team. I love the Dodgers. They're my team. I don't care that they slaughtered 1 million people before they came over here and won the game against the Yankees. I don't care that they drove a bus over, 100 people and send them to send them to the morgue. I don't care. They're my team. Yay team. Like, oh my God, what are you guys supporting? What joy? That's what they're supporting. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Anyways, thanks guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining in. I'm going to see if I have anybody to thank. Denver tipped me $2 on Rockfin. Thank you, Denver. I appreciate it. Denver says, do what Bush and Cheney did and release anthrax on the public and mail anthrax to Congress members and scare everyone into voting for the Patriot Act. Exactly. Yes, and Tor said, finally someone other than me tipping on Rockfin. Yep. Tor, you're the finest example of tippers around. So everybody do like Tor in Denver and send a tip if you can. If you can't do that, like the video, share the video, talk to people. I don't know. Oh, I needed to tell you guys before I go. There is a fundraiser. If you guys are familiar with the Beauty and the Boomer podcast, Shonda has cancer, and they're having a fundraiser on September 28th, which is 2 Saturdays from now. Hold on. 2 Saturdays from now on September 28th, and it's from noon to 4 p.m. I'll make another couple of announcements. Anyways, I'll be performing on the fundraiser, and other people are going to, Jesse Jett and some other people are going to be in this fundraiser. So just letting you all know about it. Keep it in your viewfinder, and I'll let you know as it gets closer. I'll let you know. But if you guys know Oz and Shonda, support that. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. I was going to say I might do a book reading tomorrow about noon this time. So be on the lookout for a book reading if you guys want to hang out and hang out for a good old-fashioned book reading. I think I might be doing that tomorrow at noon. Making sure I don't have anybody to thank before I go. Don't think so. All right, y'all. Until next time, peace.